to another episode of Roll or Die. Today we have for you AET black belt and coach at Resilience MMA, Jerome Maitland. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. And you left out self-proclaimed large head human. And, you know, I think it's part of the secret to jiu-jitsu, man. Like, people I know who are good at jiu-jitsu seem to have large heads. What's the correlation, brother?
I think it's your body just naturally evolves in a way that you can't get choked anymore. So that's my theory. So you've got a big head and you can't get your hand around it. That's my theory anyway.
I disagree. I think the bigger the neck, the easier to choke. If you've got a big head, probably got a big neck. Oh, no neck.
No.
Well, that's all right. I think we need to get Kim and Jerome in a room and test out Kim's choking theory.
Well, I've known Jez for years. So going way back when I was a white belt, and I used to go to AET and train there with them.
And used to bash me. Yeah.
I did not ever bash him. He was always gently bashing me, always just using technique, which is I guess a very difficult skill. Can you share any insights as a bigger guy on how you do that? How do you use just technique? Particularly, I mean, you're a black belt now, you've been a black belt for years, so you've got that experience, but can you think back to when you were in your earlier, say white belt, blue belt days? Because unfortunately, sometimes you probably outweigh, if you don't mind me saying, a lot of people in the room. Yeah. So it's a tricky one.
It is. I am very blessed that I'm a gentle giant in a lot of ways. And that's more of a personality thing, which I was very lucky that I was able to take that in. I've always been I actually did performing arts, so dancing, acting, singing my whole life prior to jiu-jitsu, and blew my knee and thought, hey, let's just go in another direction and try jiu-jitsu out. So I've just always found that I've always enjoyed not using technique, and I guess I had a
not using strength. You mean?
Sorry, say that again.
Just using strength.
Because I think the thing is, you one thing I learned very quickly is you want sparring partners. Like you want people to roll with, and you want to learn. And I think one thing I got an amazing instructor in Ninos. He's my big brother, and I've been lucky that I've actually, because we've been around a long time, Kim. We've actually seen the evolution of jiu-jitsu in Australia. So we've gone from the very old school, if you're a giant guy and you just stay on top and you pass guard and you smash, like that was the emphasis. And I was very lucky to come into the transition with Ninos, who was a guard player. I mean, that, like, always on his back, always playing guard, always playing open guard, which was very unusual back in 2008. When I started. So it was something I always appreciated. And Ninos as well, always been a super strong guy too, like insane and insanely strong, especially his hips and his legs. Was very light and very agile and just kind of shifted you and made you feel stupid. So I was kind of inspired and wanted to capture a little bit of that over time. So as I said, as a white belt, quite an insecure guy, a little bit shy, friendly, because I have to be, it's a hard thing, but like I said, I've always wanted to have an enjoyable experience, and you're enjoying it if both people are enjoying it. So like Kim, we'd have a roll, and I think you're the size of from my knee down to my ankle, and that's about it.
Probably in height, definitely. Yeah, that's me.
We always had, and you can always, one thing I learned is you can learn from everyone. And if you're not going bulldozing using pure strength and trying to kill your opponent, you actually get something out of it. You get a little bit of satisfaction in your ego. But at the end of the day, you're not going to really progress pretty much past a blue belt, in my opinion. So that's where it sort of stemmed from.
So how old were you when you blew out your knee and moved to jiu-jitsu? Because you seem like you're like 25 now. So I don't know. You've got that 20.
I think my Asian genetics has been very, very good to me as far as looking older. But I blew my knee when I was 19, and it was just basically getting from the ground up, and my knee just the cartilage just went boom, and like in my knee, and
Wow.
Had to take a bit of time off and actually put on a lot of weight. I mean, you think I'm big now, you should have seen me in the beginning. I think I blew out to about 150 kilos, like just because I had stopped exercising when I was, that's what I did my whole life. And I was never a skinny guy, but I was always like I'm like Kung Fu Panda in a way, you know what I mean? Kind of agile, just kind of bounce around. But I've had this natural agility, which my body didn't agree with. So I think I was 19 when I first did my knee. I've done it twice since then, but like really nothing too serious, like meniscus tears, which are pretty easy to fix. They're really annoying and you got to take a little bit of time off. But it was 19 and just literally getting up from a seat. Nothing fancy, nothing cool, not fighting a grizzly bear. It was literally just getting up from the ground and jumping up and my knee buckled.
Wow, man.
And tell us how you found jiu-jitsu. Was that at AET or were you somewhere else?
I unlike a lot of people's journeys, mine has just been AET. I have taught in other places, but Joseph Tomei, who is Michael Tomei, who's Ninos's first black belt, his older brother, me and him are best friends from high school.
Yeah.
And I was having a fight with one of the girls at the dance studio on this particular day, as you do when you're 19 and you're dumb and you don't think. And Joseph just invited me along and said, hey, man, look, maybe just come down and meet Ninos. He's my coach. Get your mind off it. And I said, oh, cool. I mean, can't hurt. Went in there, met him. Super friendly guy. And we just started chatting, just talked about life. And, like if you have the privilege of having to sit down with Ninos, you can have like these 2-hour conversations that are just awesome, but lead nowhere. But yeah, he was just a really friendly guy. And he got me to roll his cousin who doesn't do jiu-jitsu anymore named John. And like John was like 60 kilos if, and he goes, roll my cousin. And like at the time I'm 150 kilos. And I said, hey man, look, it's the typical conversation. Like, I'm not a bully. I'm not a guy. I'm not looking for it. I don't have ego. Like, I don't want to fight. Like, I'm like 3 times the size of this guy. And he said, no, just roll with him and see what you can do. I go, all right. Like, I'm sorry if I squash you, because that's literally the mindset of that. And he tapped me out, I think 3 times in the space of 40 seconds. And I just said, what the hell? Like, this is ridiculous. I'm getting beaten up by like a little tiny person. It makes no sense. And I fell in love with it. But I go, oh, look, I've got to repair my knee. I'll be back in about 10 weeks because that's how long it used to take for the repair. And Nino said, yeah, okay, cool. And he even said this in my black belt speech. He didn't think I was coming back. It was one of those people that come and say they're going to come back and never did. And did my repair, came back 10 weeks later, and I never looked back. And 8 years. I was lucky to get my black belt in 8 years, which was relatively quick at the time. But I think that had more to do with the fact that I was very lucky injury wise. I say my knees, but like really it was just like really maybe in the span of the entire 8 years, maybe I lost maybe 9 weeks of training, I was very lucky. Yeah, very lucky. And that again came back to the rolling technically and not just being brute force and like trying to force things because my body just wouldn't let me.
When I'm trying to get people into jiu-jitsu, right, one of the common things I bump up against is they'll say, oh, look, I'm not fit enough yet, or I'm too overweight. Let me lose some weight first, and then I'm going to start, right? I'm sure we all know this dialogue, right? But as someone who started, and also like I'm fascinated to know about like that 10 weeks, was Ninos potentially correct? Like, did you put yourself at risk by going away to repair your knee? Like what advice would you have given past self, you know what I mean, if you were in this position now about that whole ordeal, and what advice would you give to others who think that they're too overweight or too unfit to start?
I think how do I put this? I think for me, I had done like performing arts my whole life. That was sort of what I knew. And my parents put me in that, and it was something I sort of committed to. And as far as commitment, I'm pretty good at that. Like, but I've got to love something, and it was kind of a thing of like, there's something here I don't know. So I hate not knowing the answer to something. It's one of my fatal flaws. So like being left on hold, waiting for a phone call or something, like I'm horrible. It's like, why aren't you calling me back? Why aren't you giving me a response? And I think the thing I do love, it's that I was very lucky again. AET was a very inviting, friendly family. It was very family orientated, and I'm very family. And I didn't at all feel like that I was going to be a hindrance, or, I'm going to be this big guy and people aren't going to like me, or, and like I said, I'm not a big brute either. Like, I'm not a guy that just kind of, walks in and, like I said, I'm pretty, like, I'm a pretty sensitive guy, like, and like I said, pretty gentle. But I think what I would say to people is, like, it's just an opportunity to learn something that is quite individual, but also very community based. Like, my experience is going to be very different to someone else. And if you're surrounded by the right people and right people in the gyms, and look, I have been out there to some gyms and, like, that aren't very friendly. And I could imagine someone walking into that and not going there. And you know what? That's the right decision.
Yeah.
You need to find something that suits you. And maybe the family gym isn't your thing, and there is nothing wrong with that. I think that's perfectly fine. If you're a competitive, driven, like, I'm going to smash the world, I think that's awesome. I think that's such a great quality to have. I'm envious of that, because I'm quite satisfied with, a double quarter pounder after a training. You know what I mean? Like, I'm quite happy with that. All about healthier, yeah.
Speaking about family, how did your family take your transition then from performing arts to martial arts?
Oh, my parents, not well. Not well at all, because not because they didn't think I could accomplish or anything. They never wanted me to get hurt, because they saw it as, this is, martial arts, you hit each other, and, you bash each other, you get head injuries, you get things, which is ironic, because for me, BJJ is not that at all. It's about control, and, like, controlling a situation. And I ran the kids program at AET for a long time with Buffy, who, Kim, Buff's, she's my little sister. I could bash her all the time because I love her so much. But yeah, we got our black belts together, and that was a pretty special moment.
You trained my kids for a period, for a little while too. That's when we really got to know each other. Yeah.
That's right. And the great thing is like, one thing I taught with kids was, that you teach them control. I think the big thing is, like, a lot of bullies don't have control in their lives. Yeah. And I don't judge, like, it's not a judgment thing. It's like, they're trying to find power, and they're trying to find something that they don't have. And it's sad. I'm not excusing bullying at all. Like, I wasn't bullied too badly, but of course everyone has gone through some sort of bullying. But a lot of my kids that came in, some of them were bullies and some of them weren't. They were getting bullied, and, like, they created their own little community, because, again, it's what you teach them. It's like, stand up for yourself, but at the same time, don't look for the fight. And, like, it was so, like, I've had issues, not issues with parents, but they would tell me the school would contact them. There was one of the kids who was tiny. He was like 30 kilos, little tiny little thing. Like, he was like 2 grades smaller than everyone else, and he had a bully. And he took the bully down, knee rode him, and yelled at him and said, "Stop, leave me alone." And then he got in trouble. And I said to the parents, "So what was the scenario?" Well, this kid was bullying him, and eventually he grabbed him, and then what he did was he threw him to the ground. It didn't hit him. Knee rode, controlled the position, and asked him to stop. And I don't know what's a better example of, like, maturity in a kid that's, what, maybe 7, 8 years old, stopping that scenario and showing that this can go bad, but I don't want to go there. And it was such a, and I said to the parent, I said, and this might make me a bad person, but I just said, I think that's a great result. And whether the principal likes it or not, like, principals are in a very, like, and teachers are in a very tough position on like, controlling those scenarios. Like, how do you discipline but not discipline? Like, it's a very hard thing. And, like, I'm not saying it's okay, and I wouldn't encourage people to fight or anything like that, but that was a good example of, like, control, discipline, and, like, and not taking it too far, which a lot of people don't get, and they just swing for the fences like it's Rock'em Sock'em Robots. hit their head on the concrete, and they're done for life. You know, it's, I don't like that. Yeah.
What about with bullies? Like how have you, bullies who come into the program, how have you seen them shift in their views of life?
Incredibly well, in the sense of that they're getting disciplined, but it's not discipline as in a put down or a under the thumb or a negative or, you know, punching down. It's you're showing them a way. There was like, I don't run the kids program anymore. I haven't for a long time, but it was a very important part of my life. But these kids learned that, you know, there's reward for being a good person, and not just reward because I did 1 + 1 and it = 2. It was, this actually feels good to do a good thing and like work with friends. And ironically, another story without too much detail, one of the bullies defended one of the kids in the same school from the gym from being bullied by someone else. And then he completely changed his aspect. You know, it's, I think we've got a really great bunch of instructors in Australia. Sorry, I should even say specifically Victoria. Like, I really like the kids programs that have been run from, like, you got G and you know, in G-Force. You know, you got
Dominance. Oh my god.
Yeah, man. Oh, Dave Hart runs an awesome program. The Bean program all over the place is fantastic. You got in my old friend we used to fight, gone blank on his bloody name. He's in Burwood.
There's DC out in
Rob Singh. Rob Singh runs an awesome.
These are all people we've had on the podcast already, to be honest. So we're linking
these
everyone.
are fantastic people, and it's just, but the people running it they're caring people. This is important. Like, I think it's the most important aspect of jiu-jitsu. And then a gold medal. I think guidance and, you know, an example is something super, super important when it comes to being an instructor and a mentor. You know, it's,
Well, I guess before we go on, like, I just want to acknowledge each and every person who's doing the kids program, wherever you are in the world, or, you know, and whether or not we've mentioned you, because it is an amazing contribution to kids and their lives and the schools, and, you know, they'll go on to be adults and hopefully teach great, you know, people great boundaries and great ways to be fit and great ways to end an altercation without punching. So each and every one is acknowledged as far as this show is concerned, and thank you very much.
Absolutely. And knee rides are legal in a jiu-jitsu class. So if the kids
that's right.
Have you got any advice for anyone listening that maybe perhaps starting up a kids program or looking to do it, as to how to run it? Because from my point of view, when I look, and I mean, I have kids of my own, but it just looks like chaos. And the idea of coaching kids scares the pants off me. Like, there's no way I would want to do it. But any advice you could give?
I think one thing I learned probably took about 6 months with Buff. Like, you know, we tried running the class like it's an adult class. Treat them like an adult, treat them with respect, and it just doesn't work. And I think you got to establish a routine. I think your warm-up should be identical over and over. So have it written down, have a program written out, and actually dedicate a lot of time to very, very basic things. I don't know much about the Gracie Proof program because I haven't been affiliated with that stuff. And look, I like I said, I'd look into it, but I found the big thing is routine. And ironically, I've applied routine now to the adults. So I learned teaching because I taught adults, then went to kids, and then changed my way of teaching for kids, and then kind of applied that to adults. Yeah, treat my students, my browns and, you know, my blacks and purples like kids, you know, because I can.
I've got a question. So, like, about the weight that you were when you started, with hindsight, like, what is a good way if someone is overweight to actually, like, let's say they are starting, they're interested, they found the right club. Is there a kind of a, like, what was the journey like for you to kind of get your weight under control, get your fitness under control?
Look, definitely my weight is not under control. I'm not a little person. You will definitely see me at a competition flopping around. I've definitely fluctuated, I've definitely fluctuated up and down in weight over the years. I think the big is motivation. You need to find something that you love, and then when you find limitations on the thing that you love, then you've got to find ways of eliminating those limitations. So for me, I love jiu-jitsu. I was very, very agile, very athletic for a big man. I wouldn't say the most talented jiu-jitsu guy, but I definitely had a knack for it, just an understanding. And I was very agile and I could get away with things. So like I said, like, Kim said, I was play rolling a lot and like not to demean my opponent anyway, but like just that flow roll, which I love. And even to this day, I'm a big culprit of it. I used to drive Ninos insane in competition because I'd be down like 15, 16 points and then I'd pull a sub out. Like that was my style. Like, I flow roll and the worst. I'm either losing by 20 points or I'm getting the submission.
Wow.
And it was it's frustrating. So just I'm insane.
Do you think that comes from, sorry to interrupt, like maybe accepting bad positions during training and stuff so that it's not as urgent for you to dominate?
I think what's the best way of putting this? I'm not a very good competition roller. Okay, so I have won many competitions and over time, and thanks to awesome training from my coach and stuff, but I prefer to roll for like a goal, a victory. I love fighting in bad spots. I'm a sadist, so to speak. You know what I mean? I've developed what we call, like, I used to play in turtle guard a lot. I don't know, Kim, if you remember that. And I was quite famous, like in jiu-jitsu competitions, kind of, there goes the turtle guy, just kind of turtling up and looking for the sweeps, getting no points for getting in the top position. I love fighting in bad positions because they're the positions you're going to be in, like, and I'm very comfortable in bad spots. Now, applying that in a competition is not very smart, especially at the black belt level, where I would definitely lose because my opponents are fantastic grapplers and they're also very smart and they're not going to take baits. So I had to, it's just a reality. Like, like a lot of my students go, I know exactly what you're doing. And I go, yeah, you're putting your arm in the exact spot I want you to put it. Like, you know what I mean? And I think you've got to take that. I think that as a sparring partner or like training partner is awesome because you shouldn't have an ego. You should be ready to tap at any point. Like, it's something that I strive with my students. I want you to be comfortable in the worst spot, but don't be like me and put yourself in the worst spot in competition when you're going to be down and chasing points. So, and like I said, I've never played points. It's never been my style. It's never been, I like the sub. And if I fall on my shield, or fall on my sword, I should say, it is what it is. And I'm okay with that. Like, I've competed for the first time at ADCC trials not too long ago, I think a couple of weeks ago. And I actually was on a hiatus for about 4.5 years because I was just sort of burnt out, but had a lot of fun. It was interesting getting back into it.
I can really
reignited your passion. Do you think you'll come back, compete much more, or not so sure?
I don't know. I lost my hunger because I was so burnt out. And like training for getting my black belt fairly quickly meant that I was on the mats a lot. I was competing a lot. And I went through a stint where I was competing so much, I stopped developing jiu-jitsu. And all I was doing was Kimuras because I had to do that because I was a really good Kimura guy. If I got my hammerlock on, most people, like 99.9% of people, the fight was over, and I just, you kind of just sharpening iron the whole time. I was very sharp with that one technique, but it was very, very boring. And I kind of had to step away for a bit, figure myself out. I had, you got personal things that happen in your life, and then COVID hit, and we're all back on track, but like, I can't blame COVID for stopping my competitions. I stopped well and truly before COVID kicked in. So, but reignited my passion when I took over after because Gustavo was running Resilience, and then he was running his own program, which was awesome. And I took over from him and really fell in love with my guys, and I just fell in love with teaching again and just learning and being able to control that culture that I got from Ninos at AET it's just been fantastic. I'm very blessed. I love going there. I quit my job to just teach jiu-jitsu, took a massive financial hit as you do, but I'm very happy, not happy financially, but very happy. Yeah, it's great.
Thanks for being so authentic. That is amazing. I really relate to everything that's just happened in the last few minutes. Like, Kim saying, do you think it's because you accept the position? Yeah, because I can relate. I get myself in bad positions, I accept them. The thing is, what I've learned lately is the takeaway for me has been, as soon as I'm in a bad position, start to work, like get a post, start to get out, make small micro adjustments. And that's kind of saving me from becoming you ultimately as a black belt. But the other thing is, guillotines are my thing as well. And I do them over and over and over again. And I've neglected so many other areas of my game. So you guys are completely recreating my world here. And yeah. I'm gonna
Anton, I think if you want to guillotine me, it'd be like wrapping your hands around a washing basket and trying to get your fingers close together. Yeah, like that's the way it's gonna. Yeah,
Sorry, brother.
I think now. With that being said, now this might, I don't know if this is. I wouldn't say it's controversial, but it's kind of a weird opinion. I really think the next stage in jiu-jitsu is going to be these bad positions. I mean, you're seeing it with. I was used to do a lot of stuff under side control, what I'd like to call Homer Simpson guard. So a lot of it's the, how he runs around on his side. Yeah. Like that's, I have a whole, with my guys, I have a whole range of moves from that position, which I use and I'll use on black belts and play from these bad spots. And that's where, again, I feel like points can sometimes put limitations on how you can evolve your jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
You're saying now the big move at the moment, which it's kind of phasing out, but was the buggy choke. Now that's underneath side control. Now you're never going to see me do a buggy choke because my knee will be the fourth operation. But it's there's an evolution now where I was doing dash chokes years ago and from underneath side control, like the Ghost, I think Turf Planet called it. And I'm not taking credit for the move, but I was doing that a long time ago. And now you got guys like the Ritello brothers that are using all these. They're working in bad positions and finding submissions. Guys are getting their backs taken and they're finding leg locks. You're getting up turtle. Turtle's a bad position, but you're finding there's moves to do in these positions, which is great. And then the next stage after that would be, well, how do I counter these attacks? And that's just awesome jiu-jitsu. I just think the next stage is being in bad spots, which you're seeing a lot. Like a lot of guys are playing in really bad situations and then finding counters in that position, which I think is awesome. And again, I don't know how it'll reflect in competition that's really based on scoring. But like something like an ADC style match where it's like half the match is no points, it might be exciting. EBI, very exciting to play in these bad spots. Like I'll lay on my side a lot, and tell my students come into side control. And they're like really giving side control and they just know it's like there's a whole world there that is dangerous, but isn't danger fun? Like, you know what I mean? So
even the poisoned side control. I like it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I hope you're right. Because as a fellow jiu-jitsu who also probably accepts bad positions, I look forward to, if you're correct, dominating in the future, if that is what's going to happen with jiu-jitsu.
If we see it, Kim, I'll remind you of this video and I'll be like, remember we had this conversation?
Yeah, remember when? Yeah, you were ahead of your time. And just touching back on, we're only got about 7 minutes left, but you've mentioned several times through this conversation about Ninos. Can you tell us a little bit more about the culture of AET? Like, because I guess we've had a couple of other students from there on here, and they've talked about it. But yeah, just tell us your thoughts on that.
I was kind of lucky when I came into it. There was the second gym, so he was kind of established because they were working out of a church hall initially. So that was before my time. And when I come in, like I think there was, and I'm not exaggerating, I think there was 30 guys. Like where it's blown out. Like if you count all the affiliations, that's like 2,000 people. Like it's insane. That's a big growth in the span of, I mean, really, when I was 20, I'm 34 now, 14 years. Like that's a pretty big growth. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that it was really family values that a lot of people are drawn to, which some people love because that's what they have, and some people love because they didn't have that, and me straight away, me and Enos clicked, and we've definitely butted heads because I'm a pain in the butt, you know what I mean? Like definitely a painful student, even though I pride myself in being a good teacher, but that's always the way, isn't it? Like what you strive to be, you normally are counterintuitive. Do as I say, don't do as I do. But the culture there is just, it's awesome. It's family. I can't put it any other way. Ninos is my big brother. he's an amazing teacher. But more than that, like, I gave me purpose. Like, I think people try to look for purpose, and maybe jiu-jitsu isn't your purpose, but there's no reason why you can't do it. But I mean, I love it. I love teaching, and I was inspired by the culture and how Ninos approached it. And, I try to apply that. Probably not as well, but man, I definitely aspire to that,
And how would you rate, not compare in good, bad, better, worse, but now you're teaching at resilience as well. So what's the difference in the cultures between the two gyms? Like if I'm a newbie and I'm going, I could get to both of those gyms, what would I expect at resilience?
You would get open-mindedness now. Like, I think I've come in, and because resilience is an MMA-based gym, guys are very sharp and iron. And I think that's, of course, when you're getting ready for a fight and that culture has gone in. I mean, Dan Kelly he's super tough. Yeah. He's a pain, but I love him, like great. And like we've got guys there like Cal Potter, who also teaches BJJ there. We've got Sam Haywood, who's an amazing MMA coach. I feel like he's going to be the next big thing coach wise. Ben, we've got Ben Sassoli, awesome stroke. We've got this culture of guys that have come in, and like I've come in, I'm kind of like, you got these tough, and then you got me that's kind of let's hug, like, like that's
I'll accept your bad position.
Yeah, I think what I wanted is like being a big guy too, even though like I'm friendly and I was looked after by the right people and stuff, you still had that stigma of being a big guy, and that I'm worried that this person's going to hurt me. And I just straight away, like, we had a few tough, and like I said, I'm not against it, but we had a few really tough MMA kids that are really, I've told them that you can't be 24/7, boom, 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 boom. You're not going to last. You're going to have maybe a luckier span of 10 years, and that's it. And I just said, you need to learn, you need to be a bit more technical base. And I think you just need to, I encourage more of a team aspect there. So if you're coming in, my higher belts, I've trained them to teach, in the class. So like, as an example, like we'll break up and we'll do technique, and I'll make sure that I've got a color belt in every group. And then it's their responsibility to teach as well. So if you come into AET, you're going to have a great time. You come into resilience, you're going to have a great time. I've got really bad jokes, and Ninos has worse jokes than me. So
awesome. We are nearly out of time. Thank you so much for your patience in setting this one up. I know it took a little bit of time to get us all together. And do you have any final words, any parting?
I just thank you for the opportunity. I have to say, you guys have the most aggressive theme song for a jiu-jitsu based podcast ever. Yeah. Which I wasn't expecting.
The funniest part about that is that's Kim singing. She's pretty amazing.
That doesn't surprise me.
Dean Burgess.
No. Other than that, I just think, look, if you want to say, don't let your flag or your gym logo be the only family. Kim, we're all from different gyms. We've come from different places, and we have a really amazing community when it wants to be, and we've survived COVID as a community, which was really hard. We're like one of the last ones to things. So if you're looking to find some community, any gym, I'm not going to say mine, I'm not going to say yours, I'm just going to say there's a really strong, beautiful community that survived a pretty hard 2 years, and that just shows strength and unity. So get out there, try jiu-jitsu. That's it. Yeah, got to get out there, get under side control, and do the Homer Simpson guard. That is going to be the next thing. All right.
You heard it here first, people. Jerome, you're a legend.
Thank you so much for this.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, guys.
You're welcome. Anytime. We'll have this out in a couple of weeks. If you could share it with your networks as well, that would be really amazing for us. And look forward to seeing you on the mats or at the competition soon.
Absolutely. Take care, guys. Thanks again.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.